All right, I guess someone from Norway. So, hi, Dr. Ren. I'm a 26-year-old man from Norway who suffers from low level of total testosterone and very low level of free testosterone. I had a medium level of SHBG and did not test FSH, LH, or estrogen. I've been to my GP several times who literally told me to masturbate more and eat more red meat. He is not willing to do anything nor refer me to a urologist and endocrinologist. I have been on two AAS cycles in the past, where the last one was 6 months ago. I've always done all the safety guideline, ran HCG during cycle, and had a proper PCT of clomid and tamoxifen. Now for a patient presenting with a history like mine, what would be the guideline in approaching this problem? MRI for pituitary tumor, HCG to see if testicle work, TRT, or just simply run another round of clomid or tamoxifen. Um, my thought would be the last one to see if that fixes it. Best regard.
Good questions. Either of those methods of investigating would be fruitful depending upon I don't know what the country of Norway has in place in terms of their medical system, but here it would be dependent upon your insurance, I guess is one way of putting it. I'd love to get an MRI, but that can be expensive, covered or not covered by insurance. But that would provide you a view of the pituitary to see if there's any sort of tumor. We call it a microadenoma, a pituitary microadenoma, which may or may not be affecting the production of luteinizing hormone, which it would also be a good idea to get a gander at. With a blood assay, he said he didn't get that, but that would help us suss out what's going on here. At 26, you would presume that he doesn't have a problem with his testicles. It's not primary hypogonadism, but secondary. In other words, the testicles work fine if they get the signal, but in this case, he's just not. The pituitary is not sending a signal. To get an FSH with that is always nice to have, just because we kind of get them bundled and we see if things are operating the way they're supposed to. But luteinizing hormone is really what you're looking at to see if the Leydig cells of the testicles are being stimulated to produce enough testosterone. Being 6 months post-cycle of some sort, especially at age 26, is more than enough time to see what the testicles are producing at this point without an effect of, I stymied their production for a while I was on something else. And I'm assuming they were short cycles. He's on 2 cycles. He's only 26, so how long could they have been? I mean, I guess he could have been on since he's 15, but that would be an issue. I mean, seriously, that actually he doesn't bring that up. I'm presuming again that these were short cycles, and he hasn't been on while he was still developing. Although arguably, you're still developing up until you're 26. You're developing that hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. But all the unicorns aside, if we're talking about a guy who's done a couple of short cycles and, as he said, done it the right way with post-cycle therapy, and if he's still got low testosterone, then again, an MRI is a good idea. Luteinizing hormone is a good idea. Testosterone total and free. I don't like to normally get an SHBG as long as I'm getting a free testosterone, because the two kind of tell me about the other. And I'd rather see the exact number than try and estimate based on your SHBG. And then estradiol is important too, because what if his testosterone is low, his free testosterone, or his total testosterone for that matter, because he's converting a bunch of it into estrogen. And we find out, oh, look, his estrogen's off the chart, which can happen when you do a cycle to some guys because your body likes to adjust. And all of a sudden you've got this, especially with this whole idea of blasting and cruising, where you use some ridiculously high dose of testosterone anabolic, and it goes to the roof in your body. The further you get away from the norm, or the what we call the homeostatic range, the further you leave that, the more your body overreacts to it. So if you're only this far away, you're not going to overproduce estrogen. If you are this far away, you're more likely to really convert more and more. So your body gets used to converting, and so sometimes after cycles like that, particularly when you're young, I find anyway, your liver keeps aromatizing more and more than it should. So you go back to your normal endogenous production, but boy, you're converting a lot of it to estrogen. So all these things would be worth investigating. were there any other? I can't think of anything else that
No, that's
you
it.
might want to do to investigate, and then again treat accordingly. Eating more meat. I'm not even touched the masturbating one. I have no idea how that would help. Although there's probably something that they found, and I'm saying this respectfully, something we haven't studied yet. I mean, can you imagine? No, I mean, it's probably. I'd like to know the answer to the question. In Chinese medicine, which again, I'm Doctor of Chinese medicine, so I definitely respect traditional Chinese medicine. There is probably some science, or some discovery or something to the medicine that's been around for arguably 5,000 years that says that will do something for you. We just don't have any Western studies because I doubt that they've been able to recruit, masturbators, in sufficient number. Although maybe they'd be easy to do to find that many, but to study the effects on testosterone production. But there may be something to it, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
But I don't have any empirical evidence to support that necessarily. But more red meat, the idea probably being in this doctor's mind to create more cholesterol, from which we derive these sex hormones, the steroid, cholesterol hormones. And there are some people. I had a guy in my office today who knew. He said, "Yeah, I was a vegan for 9 years, and boy, I'm still paying for it." And it buried his testosterone. Vegans can still produce plenty of testosterone. Don't get me wrong, but the misuse of it's a much harder diet to subscribe to. Sometimes it can affect people because they get so few saturated fats and other other fats, such that there's not enough cholesterol there to make the hormones from which are made the cholesterol. So from which we don't have enough cholesterol from which those sex hormones are made. So let's see, in this gentleman's case, the red meat, I don't know if that's a good idea or not. The masturbating, again, I don't know if it's a good idea for you or not. But in terms of getting your testosterone levels up, I would get assays at least of what I suggest is probably missing. At that point, maybe it'd be consideration. For example, if LH was low, unusually low, then it might be a good idea at 26 to get a pituitary MRI to find out if maybe there is a lesion on the pituitary, because that's a relatively easy fix. They go up to the roof of the mouth. Pituitary is a little stalk about yay big at the base of the brain. It's almost like a dental procedure, more than that, but they get rid of the microadenoma, and boom, he gets a normal for a 26-year-old or for him level of testosterone. But that'd be worth investigating. Again, we need to. Has this always been the case? I mean, why did you start at a relatively young age of doing this sort of thing? Was it because you felt crappy, or were you just trying to put on some extra muscle mass? Yeah. Did you have signs of hypogonadism, in other words, before this? Do you have any prior labs? But that would all lead to the decision-making process of, okay, what do we do next? But I think it's pretty easy to say, start with some assays for some of those missing numbers and then proceed from there. And again, maybe find a different doctor who's a little more willing to go down that route and not stop at what this guy recommended.
Yeah. Thank you, Doc.